Welcome to Yahoo Finance Sports Report, a unique look at the business of sports, brought to you by Yahoo Finance and Yahoo Sports. I'm your host, Joe Pompliano, and I'm here to coach you through the financial game. Today, we've got JB Mackenzie, the Vice President and General Manager of Futures and International at Robinhood, joining the show to discuss the company's launch of its new pro and college football prediction market. Let's huddle up and get right into it. We are kicking off this week with Pomp's Playbook, where I take a look at some of the biggest headlines in sports that you and your portfolio need to know. First, Kendall Baker of Yahoo Sports reported earlier this week that new MLB media rights deals are close to being done, according to his trusted sources. Baker is hearing that Apple TV is out, while NBC is in talks for exclusive Friday night and Sunday night baseball games, as well as the wildcard round of the playoffs. The report also said that MLB is set to sell its MLB TV out-of-market subscription service to ESPN, and Netflix is in line to buy the rights to the Home Run Derby. However, no deals have been finalized. Continuing on with more MLB news, Sports Business Journal reported on Tuesday that Music City Baseball, an organization looking to bring an MLB team to Nashville, is prepared to welcome a new expansion team to the Tennessee city. Although the expansion process is still years away, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred has said before that he wants to decide on 2 expansion cities by his planned retirement in 2029. And according to Sports Business Journal, Nashville is considered to be a strong candidate for expansion when the time comes. Next up, Front Office Sports reported earlier this week that the WNBA has already broken its regular season attendance record, with a little less than a month still left to play in the 2025 season. The W has already drawn over 2.4 million fans this season, breaking the previous attendance record of 2.36 million fans for the 2002 regular season. What's remarkable is that the Indiana Fever led the league with over 300,000 fans attending their 18 home games in 2025, despite superstar Caitlin Clark having played in only 8 of those home matchups due to injury. And last up, the NFL and Microsoft announced a multi-year extension on Wednesday that will bring Microsoft Copilot and the company's AI technologies to NFL club operations. As part of the extension, all 32 NFL teams will be equipped with custom Microsoft Surface tablets starting this season, enabling players and coaches to use Copilot's AI technology to help analyze real-time data and make faster decisions on the sideline during games. And AI is not only disrupting the NFL, it's also changing the fan experience through broadcasting, analytics, and crypto technology. NBA champion Tristan Thompson not only helped the Cleveland Cavaliers win their first title in 2016, but now he's the co-founder of an AI platform called Tracy AI. He spoke to Financial Freestyle host Ross Mack about how AI is changing the way fans and pros experience basketball.
You said this year, correct me if I'm wrong, you said when it comes to crypto, right, if you was explaining it to somebody, you say Michael Jordan is Bitcoin, Bron is Ethereum, Steph Curry is XRP, and KD is Solana. Break that down for me, bro.
The reason why I'm in this space that I really gravitate toward this space is because there's that bridge the gap moment, right? And I think even in sports, I always like to correlate stuff to sports, right? There's a point in time in your career, you go from being the top 3 option to now you get to your later years and you become kind of the veteran voice and you become the bridge the gap between the coaches and the players, right? You know, in sports, when you have young, the game is getting younger, right? So, and the coaches are getting older. So you need that guy in the middle to bridge the gap between the two. And it's no different than in crypto, right? So for me, whenever I'm explaining stuff, I always like to use analogies that people can understand and grasp, right? At the end of the day, Bitcoin is like the OG, right? It's the first ever digital asset. It's the one that has the biggest backing. It's the one that everyone knows about. So I use Michael Jordan as an example, right? The guy that kind of revolutionized the NBA and take the NBA from being a $100 million business to being a $1 billion business, right? So that's why I use him as Bitcoin. Bron, I use him as Ethereum because he's, in my eyes, I use Bron's to go to my eyes, but just out of paying respect for the older people, I say Bron's Ethereum, right? He's the next best thing. And then XRP, I use as Steph Curry because he's just as great and he has such a huge market cap and Americans love him, which Americans love XRP. So I just used him as an example. And then obviously Solana, KD, where people can understand the tiers, right? So I just always like when I'm educating people about Web3 and crypto to be able to dumb it into a scenario where they can grasp.
So Tris, you already know, man, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get a little lightning round so you can catch you off guard all the way, right? You need a bucket. Right now, you need a bucket. 10 seconds. Who should have the ball? Is it Kyrie or Bron?
Oh, Kyrie. It's fast, right? You want me to answer quick? Kyrie. You saw the finals.
Keep going.
You saw Game 7. The step back.
He was the savior that year. That's a factory. All right, Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Bitcoin.
Jordan or Bron?
Bron, come on now. You already talk to me nice when you say this. Come on now.
All right, I see behind you, you got Muhammad. So Muhammad or Floyd?
Come on, Ali the greatest.
All right. And then the next one, obviously you're from Canada, so I need to know if this is a Canada team. UK rap or American rap?
American rap. I know the boy. I know Jersey was saying UK rap, but I just can't agree with that. It's American rap all the way. It's the culture.
Yeah, that was honestly egregious. I won't hold that against him though. And then lastly, AI or blockchain. You had your last dollar and you had to invest it in AI technology or blockchain. Which one is it going to be?
You see what Mark Zuckerberg's paying for all these AI gurus, so I might go AI.
Now that we talking sports, right? I actually tip my hat to you because you're doing something remarkable, right? The intersection of sports, blockchain, and AI. You got to talk to us about Tracy AI. Let the people know what Tracy AI is and more importantly, what you think the vision for it is.
So Tracy AI is basically an AI agent that I created, which is basically imagine a sports analyst or commentator on steroids. What I mean by that is that having all the high-level analytics that you cannot get from NBA.com and ESPN, which the analytics are coming from the professional teams. Like, we have certain data and access to certain companies that only professional sports teams have access to. And I was able to be able to pull that data with my resources and be able to put into an AI agent. The reason why I did that is because I noticed that AI is taking over so many sectors, whether it's the music industry, which has obviously caused some crazy controversy with AI, whether it's in art and digital art, whether it's people trying to find jobs. If you look right now, Amazon is using AI agents to see who qualifies for jobs. I'll give you another example. A law firm, a very prestigious law firm here in California, has actually hired and created an AI agent to be basically they're the bookkeeper and they're basically automated assistant, like front desker, where they basically answer the call, have full conversations, take bookings, meetings, and really almost substituting that front desk girl and making it an AI agent. So for me, it's like, if it's covering so many sectors, how come it hasn't got into sports? And for me, it was like, okay, this is low-hanging fruit, and this is an opportunity where I can be a visionary and a pioneer. Because at the end of the day, from my upbringing, being from Toronto, making it to the NBA, I had to grind for my success. And it's no different now. I've always had this grind builder mentality. So it migrated so easily into the Web3. And, if you look at Daryl Morey, he said he used AI agents to curate his Sixers roster. Mind you, the record wasn't great, injuries and so on, but that just shows you that's the first domino effect into something great.
That's epic, right? I think, not only is it commentated, but it sounds as though you're going to also be able to leverage it for the sports gambling world at some point. They might not just have to pay the Jonte Porters of the world. They might be able to, do it on the up and up.
You can listen to the full Financial Freestyle interview with Tristan Thompson wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, with college football kicking off this weekend and the NFL less than 2 weeks away, a popular trading app is now letting you bet on the game just like the stock market. We'll explain more coming right up. Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Sports Report. I'm your host, Joe Pompliano. We've made it to the one-on-one, a conversation ready to break down news and sports with a key player in the industry. This week, we're speaking to JB Mackenzie, the Vice President and General Manager of Futures and International at Robinhood. JB, thank you so much for joining the show today. I specifically want to talk about these prediction markets that you guys have launched more recently and more widely what's going on in the industry in a whole. So if you could just start with a simple explainer of sort of what sports prediction markets are for people who may not be familiar, and then why Robinhood is interested in offering these trades.
Well, first, Joe, thanks a lot for having me on. Longtime listener, glad I could finally participate. But yeah, I mean, when we're looking at these prediction markets, they really have started to explode into the retail investment world. And what they are is basically a probability, right? You're looking at what is the probability of an event to occur. So, for example, the one that got the most news was about a year ago for the presidential election contracts, and that was who was going to win the president. Was it going to be Vice President Harris or potentially former President Trump? And obviously, we saw this tremendous interest that came into play for people participating on those probabilities of that event coming true. What's happened since then is you've seen this evolution into other markets, whether it's economic markets such as price volatility. Let's say the price of Bitcoin go above or below something, But more importantly, I think you've seen is moved into the sports world. And I think what you're seeing is that more and more people are interested in using these probabilities in their overall portfolios, because it gives them a chance to trade in real time what's happening for something, let's say like pro football, college football, or other things like even like the US Open here in New York.
Yeah, and when you think about the differences between prediction markets and traditional sports betting, how do you typically explain that to the average sports fan who may only be associated with sports betting in general?
Well, there's a couple key differences. The first one is with sort of traditional sports betting platforms, they actually make the odds or make the markets, right? So they're actually putting them out there, and they actually differ between different platforms that you utilize. When you go to something like our prediction markets, first of all, it's buyers and sellers. There's people like you and me, Joe, that are coming in and putting in where we believe that market should be. And then what happens is it starts to evolve from there. It works like traditional markets, like the equities, the options or futures markets, where buyers and sellers come together to actually create what is the actual true price that they believe that market should be. The other area that it's different in is that it actually gives you the ability to exit. So in traditional platforms, you can't exit, or you have to do it at a tremendous loss that goes to that specific platform. In these markets, because they are transparent and they're centralized, you can go in and out of that market at any time. So let's say you pick a contract and it's moving in your favor, but you don't want to hold on to it any longer. You actually can close out of it without having a penalty, and vice versa if it goes below you. And then I think the final thing I would say that's really the difference between these prediction markets and the traditional sports marketplace is that you actually can trade them during the event itself. So as the event is going on and the markets are moving, you actually can trade in and out of them so that you can, again, exit as the market's moving with what's happening in that market in real time. You don't have to wait for the event to end for you to find out whether or not you perhaps made or lost money.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before this about just how some of the traditional sports betting players are potentially making moves toward the prediction markets as well, and adding that as an offering within their wider offering in total. And for people who are listening that maybe aren't as familiar, there's a different regulation process for prediction markets for sports betting. If you're in sports betting, you obviously have to go state by state. Some of these states have a specific number of licenses with high tax rates, whatever. It's a little bit quicker on the prediction market side, depending on how you look at it. But the traditional players in sports betting, I think objectively, you could probably say have felt threatened by this. There is some level of lobbying, and there's been lawsuits and other things like that. Some have been successful, some have not. But it's clearly moving in this direction where customers are telling companies that they're interested in this level of product. I'm sure you guys have seen that. But long term, where do you think this plays out? Where do we end up here between traditional sports betting versus prediction markets?
Well, I think that, right now you're watching, as you said, sort of the beginning of it as they come together, and we're trying to decide what the end result's going to be. I think what is really telling to me is that you're watching those traditional betting platforms come into this prediction market space. So you have partnerships that have been announced. CME and FanDuel yesterday announced a partnership. You've had DraftKings looking to acquire what they call a DCM, which is a designated contract market, which is known as sort of like the futures market and the swap marketplace. You're seeing them move in there. You're seeing play markets acquiring. So people are moving into this space very, very quickly from that traditional space. I think what you're going to continue to see is that when you have federally regulated markets that are about done like it is on the futures and swaps world in our prediction markets, it makes it incredibly transparent to the end user. It's consistent pricing for them no matter where they're located. Pricing is also very, very transparent as well. So I think end users are going to be the real winner here, because they're going to be able to see financial rigor come into these markets that in many ways are bifurcated. It's going to take time for it to play out, but clearly what's happening is our customers are incredibly interested in doing it. They're participating at increasing rates quarter over quarter. And I think you're going to see that continue to evolve here, or continue that trend to move forward as more and more product comes to market and more platforms continue to offer these products.
Yeah, and if we were to zoom out for a second, it sort of feels like to me that Robinhood, if we just look at, and I'd love to get your insight in just kind of like the product roadmap and how you guys think about the business overall, right? Because it sort of feels like you guys are creating one-stop shop for like everything financial someone needs to do for an entire new generation of people, right? There is saving, investing, spending, predicting. Is that sort of the plan? Is just to put like everything that someone could possibly want to do from a financial perspective within one app?
Yeah, I think our goal, and I think leads from our CEO, Vlad, which is we want to create the home for any financial instrument that you want to invest, that you want to trade, or you want to hold in your portfolio, and make it very easy and simple for you to access it. And I think if you look at whom Robinhood has been over its career, it has been an innovative company that has totally focused itself on actually breaking down barriers and make it easier for people to participate in those markets. When you look at what we're doing here with the prediction markets, I think this is just another example. We're one of the first firms to come through the door. We think that there's a way for us to continue to work with our clients on how to build a better platform for them. We take their feedback and we listen to what they're talking about or what they want to trade. And I think you've seen that where we started off with election contracts, we moved into sports. We've continued to add a variety of sports products, but we haven't stopped there. We've also looked at economic indicators, things such as what happens with inflation rates, what happens with the price movement of certain assets. We want to find ways where people can use this information as not only as sort of a data point for them to look at for their overall investments. Let's see what happens with what socially people are looking at in that marketplace and what their belief is. Couple that with some, traditional, let's say, institutional data points, and then you can make a more educated and more calculated investment as a trader. So I really think more than anything else, you're going to see this turn into the opportunity for you to collect your information, make good decisions, then access markets that perhaps maybe you can't get at other traditional brokerage firms.
Are you able to give us any numbers? Like some of this is obviously public, right? You can go on Robinhood, you look at the prediction markets, you can see the total volume. But just when we zoom out for a second and look at the totality of what you guys have accomplished in the prediction market so far, are there any numbers or data points that stick out to you to show that this is really working and this is something that customers really want?
Absolutely. I think, look, we've had over 750,000 people participate in these markets since we started offering them back in November of last year. We've traded over 2 billion contracts. In the last quarter alone, we've seen over 1 billion contracts traded as well. So the fact of the matter is that our clients are incredibly interested and intrigued with it. I think more than anything else, they're looking for additional products to come out the door, meaning they want to see us offer more. And what we're trying to do is figure out what is that right product. Because what we do is we want to look at the overall marketplace and then decide what makes the most sense for us to offer. And so what we've seen is with football is a great example is we had very strong client demand. We've built a product for them and now we're distributing it out to them. And so I think what you'll continue to see is the addition of product and more people coming through. I think we're at the beginning of a really transformational point for prediction markets and the participation for investors, both retail, institutional, and beyond. I think this is a really exciting time to be in that prediction market space.
So I would love to talk a little bit more about that actually, because one of the questions I had is how you actually come up with the markets that you're going to be offering, right? I see some of these prediction markets, they have the obvious stuff, right? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Who's going to win this game? Whatever it might be. But then they have some other things that are like social media trends that maybe don't have as much volume, that are just more fun and gimmicky. Is there I assume there's sort of a detailed process to go into finding out kind of which prediction markets you want to offer. But then is it at the point where it's like the more the merrier? It's not super expensive to launch individual ones if we're going to do them anyway. So we just do more than we need. Like, how do you think about that process of determining which ones actually go to market?
Oh, that's a great question, Joe. And we actually use the sort of the same criteria, I'll tell you at the sort of high level. I can't give you all the secret sauce, but I can give you a little bit of the details of what we do. Is really what we do is we kind of look around the marketplace as a whole and we see what products or what's trending and where do we have our clients. Clients also write into us or comment into us on a regular basis of what they're interested in potentially trading. So we kind of have a wide net that we're looking at. Then what we do from there is we look a little bit and say, okay, what's the volume and the open interest? Because we want to make sure that a product that we provide out there has the appropriate liquidity for someone to participate in. And so as we look at those products, we start to then watch them and we track them. And then as they get closer and closer and we see a combination of client demand and interest and liquidity, we'll then bring that product to market. We do that very similarly with other asset classes that I lead, such as the futures markets. But we do watch overall. And I think what's been interesting to your point is we've seen a trend of it continuing to develop. And look, we've done elections, we have done sports. We just went into the social marketplace for the first time, offering the prediction on the Emmys. So we do see that this interest is really starting to expand, and we also see it happening much more in the economic world as well. I mean, look, you've got people out in Jackson Hole talking about what's going to happen with interest rates, and you see it at the top of mind for people. So I really think what we try to do is figure out what is the breadth of product, bring it in there, but we also want to make sure it fits within our overall ecosystem. So it's an easy way for people to access it through the platform. We just don't want to pile a bunch of contracts in there without people having the ability to easily access them. So what they're looking for, they can get to very quickly.
Yeah, it feels like it's sort of like you want to give enough, but you don't want too much and distracting people. But JB, it's been awesome to see you guys enter a new market and just have so much success so quickly. So thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to coming back again real soon.
The clock is winding down here, but we have just enough time for some final buzz. The U.S. Open kicked off earlier this week in New York, and ahead of the last Grand Slam on the tennis calendar, Sportico released its 2025 highest paid tennis players list. Now, the top 5 highest paid tennis players on the list were filled with the sport's biggest names. World men's number 1, Jannik Sinner, topped the list at $52.3 million earned from prize money, endorsements, bonuses, and appearance fees. 5-time Grand Slam winner Carlos Alcaraz ranked second with $49 million. American women's superstar Coco Gauff was third with $35.2 million in annual earnings. And world women's number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, came in fourth on the list with $25.4 million, followed by 24-time Grand Slam winner Novak Djokovic, who had $24.4 million in earnings. All told, the top 10 highest paid tennis players made a collective $272 million in the past year, which is a 13% increase from Sportico's 2024 list. However, that figure heavily skewed in favor of off-court earnings, with the top 10 highest paid players earning 35% from prize money and 65% from endorsements, bonuses, and appearance fees. The sharp imbalance between on-court and off-court earnings highlights the global appeal tennis athletes have with their personal brands. The big two of Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner led the pack when it came to off-court income, with Alcaraz earning $36 million in endorsements, including over $10 million a year from Nike, and Sinner making $25 million from brands like Nike, Lavazza, and racket company Head, among others. But not far behind Sinner was 2025 French Open winner Coco Gauff, who made $23 million in endorsement money from deals with top brands like New Balance, L'Oreal, UPS, Rolex, and others. Plus, 5 female players earned at least $10 million in sponsorship and endorsement income over the past year, including 4-time Grand Slam winner Naomi Osaka. And now, the world's highest paid players on Sportico's list will look to add even more money to their 2025 earnings by winning the $5 million championship singles prize on the line at this year's U.S. Open. We're all out of time, so it's officially game over for this week. Thank you so much to JB and for all of you for joining us. Please make sure to scan the QR code below to follow Yahoo Finance Podcast for more videos and expert insights, and catch us every Friday wherever you get your podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pompliano. See you next time.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.